I'm going to be writing out polynomials, and then we're going to talk about their degree, the name that you give them according to their degree, and the name you give them according to how many terms they have. So everything I write down here is considered a polynomial. Okay? However, all polynomials can have a more specific name. Kind of like we are all people or humans, but don't we all have a specific name? Okay, so the first polynomial is 2x plus 1. You determine the degree of the polynomial by looking for the highest exponent. Okay, so look over here. What is the exponent and where is it? It is 1. Isn't that 2x to the first power? Anytime there's a variable, it's automatically raised to the first power unless you see another number there, like 2, and then it would be squared. Since 1 is the highest exponent in the whole polynomial, it's degree 1. This is considered linear. Anytime it's a degree 1 polynomial, it's considered linear. And think about it. If you graph that, doesn't that look just like y equals mx plus b, which would make a line? Yes, that's why it's linear. How many terms does it have? 2. 2x is the first term, 1 is the second term, so that's considered a binomial. Okay, now something they didn't put on the chart that we are is the leading coefficient. So just add this at the end, leading coefficient. The leading coefficient is the very first coefficient you get to when the polynomial is in standard form. So over here, what is the coefficient? 2, and isn't that the only coefficient in the whole problem? Because this one is considered a constant. Remember, numbers without a variable are considered constants. Numbers with a variable beside them are considered coefficients. So 2 is the very first coefficient you get to. It's the only one. So that's your leading coefficient for that one. Okay, now let's look at this. 130. Does it have a variable? No. Anytime it does not have a variable, it's degree 0. And what's it known as? Constant. Isn't a regular number without a variable just considered a constant? Okay. How many terms are in that polynomial? 1. So it's a monomial. So even though it is a polynomial, kind of like we are all humans, it specifically is known as a constant monomial. Constant because it's degree 0, there's no exponent. Monomial because it's one term. What is its leading coefficient? I don't see a 0 over there. None. It doesn't have a coefficient at all, guys. The only thing this polynomial has is a constant, right? To have a leading coefficient, you have to have a coefficient, period. Okay, the next polynomial is 10x cubed minus 2x plus 1. What is the highest exponent out of all three terms? A 3. Because isn't this next one to the first power? So which exponent is higher? The 3. Whenever you have a degree 3 polynomial, that's known as cubic. Now, how many terms does it have? 3. 10x cubed is the first term, negative 2x is the second term, positive 1 is the third term. 3 terms is known as a trinomial. What is the leading coefficient? 10. 10 is the very first coefficient you get to. Negative 2 is also a coefficient, but it's not the leading one. The very first one is 10. Okay, next one. Negative 1 plus 3x plus 2x squared. What's the degree? 2. This is x to the first, that's x to the second. So our highest exponent is a 2. What do we call a degree 2 polynomial? Quadratic. And then how many terms does it have? 3, so it's also a trinomial. And then what is its leading coefficient? What? Raise your hand if you think it's 3. Raise your hand if you think it's 2. Raise your hand if you think it's -1. Okay, -1 is a constant. It can't be the leading coefficient because it's not even a coefficient to begin with. It's just a constant value. The only two coefficients here are 3 and 2. And yes, 3 is currently in the front. However, you probably missed something I said a while ago. You can never identify the leading coefficient until it's in standard form. Standard form means you have to list the terms in order from the biggest exponent down to the smallest. So isn't that what that polynomial would look like once you rewrote it in standard form? So now that it's in standard form, what's the leading coefficient? 2. Alright, 17x squared plus 11. What is the degree? 2. What does that make it? Quadratic. And then how many terms does it have? 2, which makes it a binomial. What is the leading coefficient? Right, it's already in standard form because the exponents go from the highest to the lowest because that one doesn't have one. And so 17 is your leading coefficient. Alright, I'm going to fill in the rest of these polynomial blanks with some more polynomials. And I want you to attempt all the other blanks. And then we'll go over it to see if you got it right. But first, try it by yourself. Please do not just wait and fill in what I show you. That's not how you learn. Okay, here we go. 1. What did you get for the degree of this polynomial? 1, which makes it what, Jenny Beth? Linear. Lizetta, what type of polynomial is it? Binomial, right, because it has 2 terms. And then Austin, what's its leading coefficient? No, this one. 5. Eliel, what's the degree of this one? Which makes it what, Genesis? Linear. Samantha? Monomial, right? And then Charlie, leading coefficient? 2. Okay, number 10, Anna, degree. Which makes it what, Jamie? Edward, Stephen, Jimmy. Okay, well, she just told you it's degree 0. What are degree zeros called? Constants. And then William, what size is it? Monomial. And then Brianna, leading coefficient? None. There's no coefficient at all. 10 is just a constant. When there's no variable, there's no coefficient. Coefficient is beside a variable. Okay, Brandon, degree? 1. 1, because that's x to the first, which makes it what? Linear. Lazarus, is it monomial, binomial, trinomial? How many terms does this have? 2. And so what do we call that? Monomial, binomial, or trinomial? What? No, remember, mono is 1, bi is 2, tri is 3. Like a bicycle has 2 wheels, tricycle has 3 wheels. So binomial. And then Caitlin, what's the degree? I mean the leading coefficient? 1/2 is right. Okay? Chloe, the degree of this last one? 2, which makes it what, Jalen? Quadratic. What size is it, Mia? Trinomial. And then what is the leading coefficient? Anybody? 1. Guys, that's the first variable. Isn't there an understood 1 in front of it? So 1 is the leading coefficient. Okay, go ahead and turn to the next page. Add polynomials. 6x minus 7 plus 4x plus 5 equals this. Well, where did this 10x come from? Right. Now, the reason we knew we could combine those two is because both of them are x to the first power, right? You're not actually going to do anything with their exponents, though. When adding and subtracting polynomials, you don't mess with the exponents. They just let you know, hey, both of these have an exponent of 1, and both of them are x to the first. That means we can add up their coefficients. 6 plus 4 is 10x. Okay, but you don't actually combine the exponents, just the coefficients. Then over here, negative 7 is a constant value, and so is 5. When you add a negative 7 plus 5, you get a negative 2. Now for practice, we need to also name it. What is its first name? What degree is it? 1, which makes its first name linear. And then the last name comes from its number of terms. How many terms does it have? Which makes it, so you can just write LB like that instead of writing it all out. Linear binomial. Okay, next question. 3x plus 5 plus 4x plus 1. Right, you can combine the 3x and 4x to make 7x. The 5 plus 1 makes a 6. What's the name of this one? LB, linear binomial. Okay, the next one, you're adding a trinomial with another trinomial. 2x squared can add to what? 8x squared, and that does make 10x squared. Okay, and sometimes I find it easier to kind of like cross out the ones I've already done. 3x can combine with to make, and then 7 combines with, but negative 4. So guys, if you struggle with adding or subtracting negative numbers, type it in. Type in 7 plus negative 4. 7 plus negative 4. 3. So you know that you'll put plus 3 because a positive 3 popped up on my calculator. What is the name of this one? Quadratic trinomial, so QT. Okay? Yeah. Okay. The next one. Isn't this a 1x squared? And so is this one. So when you add the x squared terms together, what do you end up with? 2x squared. Okay, and then you can combine the 5 and the 4, and you're adding them, so that makes a positive 9. And the name of it is not LB, QB. It's quadratic because the highest exponent's a 2, and that's quadratic. Okay, the next one, we have 3 binomials they're adding together. So you can add the 5x to the 4x and to the 2x. They're all the same family. They all have a regular x as their last name. When you add them all up, what do you get? 11x. Hold on. Stop playing around over there. Then you combine negative 3, 7, and negative 6, and you get negative 2. What's the name of that one? LB, linear binomial. Okay, I want you to take a minute and go ahead and try the next 4 by yourself. Make sure once you've combined them, you also name it. This one, aren't each of these x squareds 1x squareds? So when you combine them, you have 2x squared. Okay, so we're done combining the x squared terms. Now we move on to the x to the first terms. When you add a 6 plus a negative 8, you get, right, and don't forget the x. That's the last name. That's why you were able to combine those, because they had the same last name. And then negative 5 and negative 4, they don't have last names, so they join together and make negative 9. Okay, what's the name of this one? Right, quadratic trinomial. Number 6, what can we combine with the 3a? To make how many a's? What can you combine with the 4b? Yeah, you can. You can combine negative 4b with it, and then it makes nothing, so you just don't write it. And then what can you combine with this 1c? which is 3c. We're not going to worry about naming that because it's definitely not linear. Think about it. Linear equations are in the form y equals mx plus b. So you have a coefficient, a variable, and a constant. In this one, we have two variables. That would not graph a line. So we're not going to worry about naming it since it has two different variables. Number 7. 3x plus 5x plus 2x. All of them can combine because all of them have the same last name, x. 11x. Yeah, I was about to say, I was looking at it like, okay, then, girls, be quiet. 4 plus 2 is, what do you name this one? LB. Linear because it's degree 1, binomial because it's 2 terms. Okay, 5x squared can combine with negative 5x squared, but what happens? They cancel. 4x can combine with negative 4x, but they cancel. Negative 7 plus 7 is right. Now, a while ago when we were working this problem, I told you if it's 4b minus 4b, don't even bother with the 0b. When it comes to a problem like this, though, where everything canceled, you have to write something so you write 0 in that case, because everything canceled out. Now, what's the name of that? Right, constant monomial. Constant because it's just a constant. Monomial because it's just one term. Shh. Turn around to the board. Okay, now, for these, it's the same type of problems. They're just showing you that sometimes they may give them to you vertical instead of horizontal like this. And for some students, it makes it easier to see what to combine. 3x squared plus 4x squared is 5x plus 3x is, so plus 8x, and then 2 plus 2 is positive 4. What's the name of that one? Quadratic because the highest exponent is 2. Trinomial because it's 3 terms. Okay, the next one. What do you get when you combine the x squared terms?
11x squared plus 5x.
Well, not plus 5x. No. Guys, type it in. Negative 4 plus negative 9. Yep, negative 13. So there's negative 13 x's. And then what's negative 8 plus a positive 7? Negative 1. What do you name it? QT. Okay, I want you to take a minute and go ahead and try these bottom two by yourself. Okay, what did you get for this one? 2x squared. Okay, and what is the name of it? QT, quadratic trinomial. Sam, tell me the answer to this one.
I have it. Okay, so you have 2x squared plus 5x minus 7.
Wrong. Oh, it is minus 7.
And then it's a QT.
Right. Okay, this is your classwork. Skip the next page and go to 16. The next two worksheets are made up of adding and subtracting. Well, today we only worked on adding, so you're only going to work on the adding one. So, like, you're going to skip number 1 because it's subtraction. But see how number 2 has a plus in the middle?
Oh.
So you're going to do it.
So
Then you're going to skip at 3 and 4. You're going to do 5 and 6. So far I've circled 2, 5, and 6. Circle them. 2, 5, and 6. 7 and 8. Okay, so on that first page, page 16, you should have circled 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those are the addition ones on that page.
what about 9?
Oh, I didn't make it there yet. 9 and 10.
No, 9.
Oh, just 9. Right, just 9. Okay. Now go to the next page. And 11, 12, 13 needs to be circled. And not 17. 17 is subtraction. 19 and 20. So that's 11 total addition problems you need to work on. We have some time in class, so work until I say switch out. The rest is homework.